Tonight, the Derek Chauvin murder trial is on day 2. We're going to talk about that. Plus, is it finally infrastructure week? Maybe, we'll see. And all of the things that state lawmakers are doing throughout the country that are absolutely atrocious. This and more tonight on The Read Down. Good evening from Los Angeles, California. I'm Jonathan Welch, and this is The Read Down, your weekly progressive political hot take from the Stonewall Democratic Club. We have so much to talk about tonight, and I'm excited to bring in our co-hosts and our special guest. First, my co-host, Alex Mohajer.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Happy Tank Top Tuesday.
You're the only one, because I didn't want the other guests to be excluded, but I figure we can make Tank Top Tuesday happen.
I think Tank Top Tuesday is like a mood. It's a general feeling. It's something that if you feel it, do it.
I also abandoned you because I was actually wearing a tank top and decided I wanted to dress up for Blossom. Sorry.
You abandoned me like most men in my life. Let's bring in our next
They always leave.
Let's bring in our next co-host. She's actually filling in this week for Ebony Murphy-Root from the Stonewall Spotlight podcast, Mackenzie Hussman.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Mackenzie. It's so good to see you.
It's great to be back on the show. Thanks for having me.
Or Mac, as we affectionately refer.
Yes, you can just call me Mac for short.
We'll do that. I'm going to save the syllables. Our special guest is an actress, an activist, and also a life coach. She has a ton of spare time. Blossom Brown.
How are you?
So good to see you, Blossom.
Hi, welcome.
You guys, I love Blossom so much, and I'm so happy she's here with us to help celebrate the International Day of Transgender Visibility. Thank you for being with us, Blossom. And I have video that I want to play for all of our viewers so they can get a little bit of an idea of just how amazing Blossom is, if we could play it.
Please.
Let me tell you something. Black trans women are being killed in this country. And CNN, you have erased black trans women for the last time. Let me tell you something. Black trans women are dying. Our lives matter. I'm an extraordinary black trans woman, and I deserve to be here. My black trans sisters that are here, I am tired. I am so tired. I'm just sitting there, and it's not just my black trans women, it's my black trans brothers too. And I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
Come here. No, I just want to ask you something. Come here. Tell me. Come here. I want you to talk. What's your name?
I'm Blossom C. Brown.
Blossom, let me ask you.
Google me.
Blossom.
Please Google me.
Blossom.
Blossom, I am, oh my God, that made me emotional.
Thank you.
I was sitting feet away from Blossom when that happened with some of our Stonewall colleagues, and she really shook the room awake because we were there for hours for the presidential town hall. I think Pete Buttigieg was up, right, Blossom, when this happened?
It was O'Rourke.
Beto O'Rourke. And, CNN had been instructing us to, behave on camera and look very presentable and be very present for the cameras when they're on. And so we were all just very concerned with that. And Blossom just woke us up that this is still an issue that faces the trans community, that we need to wake up, that we have a responsibility to this community. It really inspired me. And I just adore you, Blossom. And we've done other panels together, and I'm really happy you're here. So thank you.
I just love you. Right back at you.
I mean, I have to say, and I said this to Blossom before we started, I was like, I've been watching you. I've been like, I am a fan. And this woman knows what to do with a mic, clearly. She grabs it and she just goes, you walk right down that aisle. Ugh.
I want to I want to encourage all of our viewers or listeners tonight to go follow Blossom on social media because she is lit. I'm constantly seeing her daily videos. I mean, it just flows from you naturally, and that energy is, contagious. So we want to share that on Stonewall, definitely.
Oh my gosh, y'all just making me about to cry. And super be here.
Well, that video made me almost cry. So we have a lot of things to talk about, and we might shed some tears. It is just an intense news week. The first thing that I want to discuss is this is day 2 of the Derek Chauvin murder trial. He right on camera last summer murdered George Floyd. We all saw it, and he is now on trial. This again, day 2, some very interesting testimony. But first, we have a clip from George Floyd's family attorney, Justin Miller, who has a very important message about how to refer to this trial.
This today is not the trial of George Floyd. And I've heard people say that. This is the George Floyd trial. This is the George Floyd trial. George Floyd is not on trial. This is the trial of Derek Chauvin, and it should be printed and spoken about that way every single time we talk about it. This trial is about America being America for all Americans, not just some of us, all Americans. And it can be that way, and it should be that way. We have to take time now to think about what we want for our children and for our families. This family behind me is suffering, and they've been suffering since the beginning of this thing, and they're gonna suffer long after all of you have gone and all of us are gone.
So obviously, there are people out there in the media and just out there in the world who are referring to this as the George Floyd trial, and that is just, just a horrible mischaracterization of the events. Like I said, we all saw what happened on the video. Today, the young woman, she's a teenager who took that video, went up on the stand, and it was apparently just an incredibly riveting and moving testimony. Another witness, Derek Williams, who is the man who called 911, also took to the stand, and we have some video of Derek Williams.
When I say yes or no, I cannot remember at this moment.
Okay. If you heard that today, would you be able to recognize it as the 911 call that you made?
That is correct.
All right. We have now marked that as Exhibit 20, and Your Honor, we would ask that it be, well, we are offering it now as Exhibit 20.
And 20 is received.
All right. So if we can at this point then play Exhibit 20.
May 25, 2020. 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Officer 987 killed a citizen in front of a Chicago store. He just pretty much just killed this guy that wasn't resisting arrest. He had his knee on the dude's neck the whole time, Officer 987. The man went, stopped breathing. He wasn't resisting arrest or nothing. He was already in handcuffs. They pretty much just killed the dude. I don't even know if he's dead for sure, but he was not responsible when the ambulance just came and got him. And the officer that was just out here left, the one that actually just murdered the kid in front of everybody on 36th, 38th in Chicago.
Okay. Would you like to speak with the sergeant?
Yeah, like that was bogus what they just did to this man. He was unresponsive. He wasn't resisting arrest or any of it.
Okay, let me get you over to the desk. You can request to speak with the sergeant, okay?
Yeah, and I'm sitting here talking with another off-duty firefighter that just sat here and watched it in front of us as well.
Okay.
And she told him to check the man's pulse, but they wouldn't even check the pulse.
Okay, 1 second. I have reached the city of Minneapolis to reach someone in our property crimes division.
Y'all murderers, bro. Y'all murderers. How you gonna kill yourself? I already know it. 2 more years. You gonna shoot yourself. Murderers, bro. Y'all niggas is murderers, bro. Minneapolis First Precinct.
Hey, it's dispatch.
Yeah, man. So I want to speak to a supervisor. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he wants to speak with a supervisor relating to 320's called cup food.
They can kill that man in front of the store. The post.
2833, 46.
Oh my God. I'm gonna go to our guest first, Blossom. Are you watching this trial? What are your initial thoughts on day two?
You know, I'm glad this day has come. And I want to believe that the right thing will be done. I want to believe that justice will be served. But truth be told, we know and how the justice system does not work for Black people, whether living or in death. So for me, I really hope that the evidence continues to come out. And I really do want this man to be persecuted. But at the same time, concurrently, what we also have to remember is, again, the justice system does not really work for Black people. So where are we now? What does that really look like? I really hope that George Floyd gets the justice that he needs, that the justice he deserves. But I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, and of course, I think we look at George Floyd now as his name has changed the world in a way. But so I kind of feel like you have to be living under a rock to not know who this man was and to know what happened to him. Alex, do you have any thoughts on the trial?
I do. I've been watching. Obviously, George Floyd's murder last year, May 25th, sparked an international movement for racial justice and policing reform. And part of that, part of the defense of this case is going to be pinning the death on George Floyd himself and saying that he was high on drugs and that was the reason that he died, which to me is so insidious and so representative of a greater societal sickness that we have, where we criminalize and shame people who struggle with drug addiction, first of all. Second of all, the way we use it as evidence of a crime of moral turpitude. And third of all, we know that the George Floyd family had an independent autopsy done, and that autopsy showed that it was because of the compression to George Floyd's neck that he died. And so when the attorney gets up and says, Justin Miller says, this is not the George Floyd trial. George Floyd is not on trial. He's talking about in more ways than one. He's talking about the defense that is planned in this case and is what we're going to start hearing. And I'm really worried about the damage that's going to cause to people to hear that. And it's altogether, it's really, really upsetting, and we need justice for George Floyd and, Black Lives Matter. So we need justice.
Yeah, it's a pretty disgusting defense technique, essentially, to turn around and prosecute the victim. And unfortunately, that's something that we've seen in high-profile trials. Mackenzie, I just want your thoughts, and then we're going to move on to the next topic, which I promise will be positive.
Yeah, when I heard that the defense was going to build their case around George Floyd dying of a heart attack and a drug overdose, it literally stopped me in my tracks. And I just called bullshit. We all saw that video. We all know exactly how he died. And I am so thankful that they did get an independent autopsy. And I hope that, Derek Chauvin gets prosecuted to the fullest extent, exactly what he deserves.
You can just see the evil in the man,
And can I also just say that the prosecution presents its case usually in criminal trials like this, there's objections raised to evidence being entered. The defense didn't really try to object to any of the evidence being entered by the prosecution. Every once in a while there's an objection, but standard objections that I would see in any other criminal trial were not being raised, because they are going to say, we're not contesting at all that these people saw what they saw. We're not going to contest at all that this happened. We're going to make this about George Floyd and the fact that he has drugs in his system. And to me, that also as I'm watching the prosecution do their case, and I'm seeing the defense not care at all about some of this really damning testimony coming in, it really sinks my heart. And just from a legal standpoint, that's something I've been observing as I've been watching.
And it's just insane. Play the video. Play the video.
9 minutes.
You know,
29
9
seconds.
minutes, and play it over and over if you have to, because the reality is we saw what happened. You know, like Max said, there was an independent autopsy. Thankfully, there was that independent autopsy, and we're able to call in medical experts, and we're able to have a much, you know, clearer a much clearer side on the prosecution. So this will be interesting, to say the least, to watch this. It is definitely a deeply emotional moment to see this 1 year on from that murder. So let's move to, like I said, let's talk about some positive stuff, because we deserve a break. So the Biden administration is talking about infrastructure. Their next big package that's going to take shape through the reconciliation process is a 2.2, as of right now, the price tag is $2.2 trillion to be spent on infrastructure. Things like, and I jotted this one down, $650 billion spent on construction for and repairs for roads, bridges, highways, and ports. $400 billion on home care for the elderly and disabled, $300 billion on housing infrastructure. So this is something that could help homelessness. This is something that can help low-income families and other people to get into homes throughout the country. $300 billion will be spent on revitalizing American manufacturing and bringing some of the jobs that have been shipped overseas in previous years under Republican administrations back to the United States, and placing a focus on our innovation. We'll be updating the electrical grid, instituting nationwide high-speed broadband in communities that don't have it already, updating our water systems, and doing it all by placing taxes on corporations. Finally, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that is how we're going to pay for it. So, infrastructure. The Republicans have always said, let's have infrastructure week. They never had it. Blossom, what do you think about spending this kind of money? They're kind of freaking out about taxes being raised. Oh my God.
Oh, they'll get over it, I'm quite sure. I love this. I was reading about this earlier, and I think it's such a good thing to do. This administration really wants to help the disenfranchised communities, and a lot of those communities include Black, Brown, Indigenous people, and these people who live in these low-income areas. Like, I am so glad to finally have an administration that cares, that has an administration that wants to see people win, that wants to see our country come together as a whole, that really wants this country to heal, because that's what we really need after the last 4 years: healing. All of us being able to come together and being able to heal. And infrastructure is definitely a good part of that. It's a good way of being able to do that. To be quite honest, who cares about the price tag? Let's just be very clear-cut honest about it, because this other administration didn't mind keeping the money, hoarding money. So what's wrong with this administration wanting to set it back out into communities? It's our money. It's our tax money. So why not put it to good use? Why not do it? Why not put it out there where we can be able to enjoy, be able to have cleaner air? All of these different things should be something that we should automatically have, innately have, not have to work for like that. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what this administration is going to do more of. And I'm here for the ride. I'm here for it.
One of the things that I love about Joe Biden, and I love about, this plan in particular, is that everything is kind of tied back to jobs. Like, instead of, because we're having this counter argument of the price tag. Oh my God, like, how are we going to pay for it? Well, the average American isn't going to care if they are gainfully employed, they're doing well, and this is the type of thing that's going to employ people who have been out of work. It's going to give them high-paying jobs in some of these sectors that are just going to last generations. One of the reasons why we are doing this instead of through reconciliation instead of regular legislation is because we are incredibly limited due to the filibuster. Alex, do you think we're making any progress on that front? It seems like every day there's somebody who seems to be coming out to say we need to modify or abolish it.
Abolish the filibuster. The Democrats are going to get this done by making reforms to the filibuster. I have a feeling, but my feeling is abolish it altogether. Get rid of the thing. You know, Mitch McConnell threatening to obstruct our legislative agenda if we don't allow him to obstruct our legislative agenda. I'm shaking in my boots, Mitch. But the good news is that this infrastructure bill may be the Democrats' second chance to pass a bill through budget reconciliation with a simple majority vote. That's not clear yet, but economists are downright giddy about this. The S&P predicts Biden's infrastructure plan will create 2.3 million jobs in the next 3 years. It will inject $5.7 trillion into the economy, which would be 10 times what was lost during the recession, and raise per capita income by $2,400. And they're saying that this doesn't just, you know, the COVID bill was to save the economy. This would jumpstart the economy. This would create a thriving and flourishing economy. And what I really love about it is that it is a climate change. It's a climate change bill wrapped in an infrastructure bill. A lot of this bill targets climate change. It's looking to reduce electrical emissions by 2035. It's looking to create roads that have electrical charging stations. And so it's doing two things at once, which I think is extremely clever, very necessary. I second what Blossom said. You know, this is for the people so that we have a world that we can inhabit and live in and be happy in and thrive in. And if we don't tackle the climate change problem, if we don't tackle our deteriorating roads and infrastructure, our electrical grids, which this bill also does, then, you know, what world are we going to be going into over the next 10, 20 years? We've seen the increase in severe weather events happen across the globe. And I'm glad that President Biden is taking a stand on it. I think he is shaping up to be the most progressive president since FDR. Bold claim, but there it is.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, Alex, how he is just, you know, he has FDR over the mantle in the Oval Office. That's the person he's looking at, you know, straight on every single day. That's the person he wants to emulate the most. And it's super exciting. He also wants to, in this package, in the infrastructure package, not just him, but Democrats in general want to take the $300 child tax credit, the $300, the Social Security for children that people are getting as direct payments, and make it permanent. I talked to my brother and sister-in-law who have a 16-month-old. My nephew is 16 months. And I said, do you guys know that this is something that you're going to get? My sister-in-law was like, are you fucking kidding me? We're doing better in this pandemic than we were before. Like, we're doing better as a result of this legislation, and it is endearing voters to Democrats for years to come. I mean, we're just starting to see some of the positive benefits of the Biden administration, and I think it's only going to continue. Something that the filibuster cannot touch, getting back to that, is judicial appointments. Thank you so much, Mitch McConnell, for going nuclear on that one, or for forcing us to go nuclear on that one. Obviously, the GOP had spent years trying to, through the Federalist Society, remake the judiciary in order to put these like far right-wing extremist judges on federal benches throughout the country. Well, today, the Biden administration announced 11 federal judges. This is the most appointments that we have seen from a president in the first couple of months of their presidency in recent history. I think Obama had 1, Trump had 2, George W. Bush came out with a slate, but later in the year, in his first year. So out of these 11, there are 9 women, 9 people of color. Many are in their 30s and 40s, and they come from backgrounds like civil rights attorneys, public defenders. Like, this is a very exciting slate. So, Mac, I want to kick this one over to you. Judges, how do we feel about judges?
I'm all for it. I mean, after the judges that Trump gave us, this is a complete turnaround, and I'm all for it. I think Biden is clearly outpacing his predecessors on this, and that's a good thing. I mean, great. And I'm excited to see what this new slate is going to bring us. Like you said, it's young energy, it's diverse energy, different thoughts, and this is exactly the kind of administration and coalition of thought that needs to be happening in this country. So I'm excited.
I'm excited for the Seventh Circuit, which is the Midwest, Upper Midwest, which is I think like Wisconsin, Illinois, like that area. Right now, there are only 2 judges on that circuit that were appointed by Democrats. They're all white men, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and the rest are Republicans. And he just nominated a young Black woman with a civil rights background in her 40s. So it's like, this is just incredible, and it's shaking up. It's just, it's great, guys. That was the news that I needed today.
Because I'll note, Ketanji Brown Jackson was nominated to the seat that was left vacant by now Attorney General Merrick Garland. And this is an amazing selection. She is a woman of color, and also she has talk around her being the next Supreme Court justice if Justice Breyer, who's now 82, should step down during Biden's term. So keep your eye on Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm also looking at Sherilyn Ifill as a potential person to be nominated to the Supreme Court. I would just be so excited to update that court, and that is something that we desperately need. And why do we desperately need it? Because there's a lot of shit that state legislatures, Republican state legislatures throughout this country, are trying to push. The biggest one that we've been talking about, I don't want to say it's the biggest one, but it's the one that seems to be repeated over and over in other state legislatures, and that is voting rights attacks. Just in the past week, Georgia passed one of the most egregious voter suppression bills that I think we've ever seen, making it illegal for people to hand out food and water to people who are waiting online. That's kind of the first thing. Blossom, ugh.
It is despicable. It is disgusting. It's just another way to try to suppress the Black, because they know that the Black vote has power. The Black vote decides a lot of things that happen in the country, and they will do any and everything in their power to make sure that the Black vote is suppressed somehow, some way. But truth be told, we stand on the back of our ancestors. So truth be told, we will definitely fight that. I'm originally from Mississippi myself, and so I know what it's like living in the South. I'm from where Jim Crow was the heart of, basically. I literally was born 10 minutes away from where Emmett Till was killed. I was literally born 10 minutes away from where Emmett Till was killed. So I know about how it works down south. I really, really do. A lot of these people that are in power, they do it for attention. They do it because they know that the press will be after them. They are doing it just to try to make a statement that, you can have this, yeah, you're Black, you can have this, but I'm going to show you who's still boss. I'm going to show you what you can do and what you can't do. That's the type of mentality they have. But again, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because I know that the good people of Georgia will push back. They will fight back. You have amazing leaders like Stacey Abrams and so many others that are on the ground always doing the work. And I do think that they need support. I think that this is where everybody gather up and go down there and support them. Because if we don't, these types of things are going to continue to happen. And, I just, reading about this, and I just think to myself as a Black trans person, like, how dare you? How dare you? When so many civil rights leaders fought for us to be able to have the right to vote, and you still go and try to pull a stunt because you know that the Black vote itself has so much power that it can shake you to your core. Just something to really think about.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Alex always likes to put that out.
Yes, this is my birthday twin.
She's your. I'm so sorry. She's your birthday twin.
Yeah, we have the same birthday.
Okay,
Right.
you know that matters. That does matter when you have a great person. When you have two great people who are born together on the same day, it is just a wonderful day. You know, like you were saying, there are. You're setting up a structure where like you're trying to outsmart people like Stacey Abrams and Latasha Brown. And I'm not saying that this is going to be easy at all, because I mean they're removing Sunday voting, they're making it harder to vote by mail, period, which I mean we'll be able to vote in person again, but they're also going to make it impossible for people to wait in line. Mackenzie, one of the big pushes has been for corporations that are headquartered in Georgia to do something. What should we do about those companies that are kind of staying silent?
Well, I love that activists are, criticizing these companies for not doing enough and speaking against this bill. And you see hashtags like boycott Delta, boycott Coca-Cola. And, this is exactly what we should be doing. America runs on the dollar. And if you want change, you have to hit them where it hurts. And that's the wallet. So that's exactly what activists should be crying out for. The companies have the power to change, and it's their responsibility to do so.
Yeah, and Stacey herself said, don't necessarily boycott these companies, but she's not completely closed off to the idea, because we don't know where this is going, right? Like this is just getting more and more egregious. State Rep Park Cannon was trying to knock on the door of Governor Brian Kemp's office, where he was signing the bill with a bunch of white men in front of a painting of a plantation, and she was arrested on the spot and maybe charged with felonies that could keep her in jail or in prison, for 10 years. Alex, what?
Yeah, I saw that. And it was shocking. And I just thought, like Blossom said earlier, there are two Americas. Insurrectionists stormed into the U.S. Capitol building, okay? And they were escorted off. No one was arrested that day, But so when it's white nationalists, we hands off. And now Merrick Garland is prosecuting those cases. Federal prosecutors are prosecuting those cases. Some of them, when we're hearing today, a lot of them aren't even going to face jail time, okay? Which is just wild. So a sitting Georgia state representative knocks on a door and she's arrested. It's completely outrageous. The bill was signed behind closed doors. Brian Kemp is a notorious notorious for his voter suppression tactics. He was the orchestrator of the voter purges that happened in Georgia in 2018 and earlier. And President Biden spoke about this week. He called it sick, and we do have some video of President Biden talking about this if we want to play that right now.
What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. It's sick. Deciding in some states that you cannot bring water to people standing in line, waiting to vote, deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work, deciding that there will be no absentee ballots under the most rigid circumstances. It's all designed, and I'm going to spend my time doing three things. One, trying to figure out how to pass the legislation passed by the House, number one. Number two, educating the American public. The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters, the folks outside this White House. I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters. And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this, because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
Jim Crow 2.0.
Jim Crow 2.0 or Jim Vulture, I would say. I mean, it's really, it is horrible. Before we move on to the next topic, it was brought to my attention that I said during a break, or when we were transitioning over to another topic, that we needed a break, and it may have been not good timing after we were talking about George Floyd. Obviously, we're not taking a break from fighting for racial justice. I just wanted to segue into something that we could actually celebrate. So I apologize if that was at all offensive. So before we get into the next, or now we're getting into the next topic, because it's not just Georgia that's doing what they're doing. There are over 40 states that have this on the table. There are several states that have Republican trifectas where this stuff can actually go into law. Florida is one of those states where they're saying, that's a great idea. We actually don't want people to get water and food while they're waiting online to vote. Like, what a great idea. And they can sign that into law because they have Governor Ron DeSantis and they have a majority in both houses. It's not just voting rights that state legislatures are taking up. They are also attacking trans people. And this week in Arkansas, just a disgusting law was passed and is going to the governor's desk to sign, in which trans youth cannot be treated, given hormones and other medical treatments. Doctors can lose their licenses if they do that. I mean, this is exhausting. And Blossom, I want to go to you. I mean, tell us what you're thinking.
I cannot tell you how disgusted I am. Again, coming from Mississippi and this happening a state over in Arkansas, I'm not surprised that they're trying to sign this into law. Let's just be clear. Like, if you're not from the South, you may not understand this, but if you do live in the South, stuff like this happens kind of often, where we know that it'll get far and that they'll try to sign it. But we're always thinking about the action. Okay, what do we need to do now? What do we need to do next? So I feel like activists down there are always one step ahead a little bit, trying to strategize and trying to lay out the blueprint to what needs to happen next. Let's just be very clear, okay? Trans youth, all right? Trans youth are human beings. Trans youth deserve to have access to life-saving care, okay? People do not understand that within the trans experience, gender-affirming care for a lot of us is about safety, and it's very life-saving. So you're actually playing with the lives of trans youth. They're kids, they're children. Like, I don't understand why grown-ass adults are bullying kids. I've never understood that. I've never understood that. But at the same time, because I always think about duality in this, okay, the visibility is still there. Despite all of the trauma that they're trying to inflict on us, all of the pain, the hurt, okay, our visibility is there. Okay, so we need to be worried. We need to be focusing on, of course, amplifying the visibility and also dismantling these pretty effed up laws that they're trying to put into effect. But I just believe so much in the resiliency of trans youth. I believe in the resiliency of trans people. And so I try to, me personally as a Black trans woman, I try to stay focused on the resiliency of our community, the resiliency of our accomplices who are coming to the forefront and helping us. And so many organizations like the ACLU and so many other organizations down there that are doing the work. I think more about the resiliency, and I have more hope and I have more faith that we will get through this and we will push through this and be able to dismantle some of these effed up laws that are down there in states like Arkansas, Tennessee, what they're trying to do in Mississippi, like all of these southern states. And I'm just really tired of it, to be quite honest. I'm tired of the attacks on the trans community. We saw it all through this administration. It was like we were just a pawn in the chess game. Every time you turn around, whenever something happened with Donald Trump, like they're about to find out something, he throws something trans in there. Whether that's trans people not being able to serve in the military, or trans people not being able to go into homeless shelters, or trans people not being able to use the restroom that they feel most comfortable with. Like it's a distraction. It's always a distraction. But my heart goes to the trans youth that are down there, that are living their true authentic selves, that are doing the work. Again, I just want to believe more in the resiliency of our community, and we will dismantle those laws. I promise you that, because trans people, no matter how you try to twist us, bend us, you can never break us, and that's what I believe.
Amen. I mean, the organizations that are doing work, if there are any, that come to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if there are any that come to mind that you think we should pay attention to, please, feel free to mention those. I know the ACLU is fighting a lot of these.
All of them down, all of them down there, because I want to actually encourage people to do the work. Google the organizations that are in Arkansas and that are down south that are doing the work. People need to research. Okay, it's going to be up to people. If you want to be an accomplice, a true accomplice, do the research. You got to do the work too. And I'm just saying, like, the audience, and really want to kind of empower and encourage those that do want to help, to please Google, Cash App, Venmo, whatever you can do to help these people on the ground to fight. The good fight is what needs to happen.
There was an organization that a friend posted, and I was looking for it, and it's gone. But you're right. Just Google it. It's an easy thing to find. You can find it on social media too. Like, people are always posting about who you can kind of direct your attention to and who's actually down there on the ground doing the work. There are 28 states right now that are currently taking up anti-trans legislation. This seems to be the new obsession of the right. It's just it's gross. They find groups to attack, and it's very sad that right now trans people are being attacked by them at this point. It's terrible. Do we have any thoughts, Alex? I want to go to you. Any thoughts on what state lawmakers are doing in this fight?
Yo, what's up? Let me say something. If you are the G, the L, the Q, the I, the A, the plus in the LGBTQIA plus, everyone needs to be perking up to attention about this, and needs to be in action. If you're a gay man or a lesbian woman who enjoys same-sex marriage in the United States, you stand on the shoulders of the Martha P. Johnsons and the Sylvia Riveras. You stand on the shoulders of trans people who fought for our rights, and now they need us. Our name, the Stonewall Democratic Club, it's born from a riot. The Stonewall riots in opposition to police brutality against our people. And so because of that, our community is obligated to the movement to protect trans bodies. So look up the Arkansas Transgender Equality Coalition. Look into the Human Rights Campaign in Arkansas. They have a local chapter in Arkansas, and look at the ways that you can support where it hurts with the pocketbook, and look up the ways that you can support this movement on the ground where you're at. Here in Los Angeles, people might not feel empowered to be able to help on the ground, but we should all be making a lot of noise about this when we can, as often as we can, because it's their children. They're coming for children now. We're gonna put up with this as a society. How can we call ourselves a community if we don't do the work to protect everybody in our community? And we're not done until all of us are equal. Our work is not done. So that's what I want to say about that. And it's really disheartening and very upsetting. So
it is horrible. And before I go to Mac on your thoughts, I will note that we always say Stonewall was a riot, and we need to act that way. And this organization, or just use the name and go out there and fight. But also, it was a riot that was led by trans women. trans women who were there that night. They were the ones who got thrown in the paddy wagon first. They were the ones who put their bodies on the line. And we cannot forget that. We should not forget that. And if you don't know about it, you should learn about it. So Mac, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've always thought that you can judge a society on how it treats its most vulnerable. And, this is just disgusting. Like Blossom said, there are over the 60 anti-trans bills that are being considered right now. It's this is a war on the LGBT community. And I read that one Republican sponsor of the bill said that gender affirming treatments were at best experimental and at worst a serious threat to the child's welfare. And that just goes to show that we have a long way to go and we have to keep fighting for those rights. And I just want to reiterate Blossom's words that we have to be resilient. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was one thing that I think struck me the most when I was reading about this, was that the Republican legislator was kind of framing it as though it was an experimental treatment when really, like, it's not. And in most cases, you have parents who are supporting their children going through that. Not in most, but in many cases, you have parents who are supporting their children going through this. And down south, it's like that fight, I'm sure, is much more difficult than it is here in California. And so we have to, really kind of reach out to the communities that are helping to take care of those kids. It's really just, it's sad. It's incredibly sad.
Jonathan, I want to just say that I'm posting links to 5 trans rights organizations in Arkansas that can use your support. They include Lucy's Place, the Arkansas Transgender Coalition, and a few others. Look into those and show them your support.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. And for those who are watching, that is in.
Thank you.
Yes, that is in the comments section. So please take a look and follow those organizations. Before we open the library, I want to talk really quickly about where we are with COVID-19. Despite strides in vaccinations, CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky said that she is afraid of a 4th wave. We are seeing cases go up. People who have not been vaccinated are catching much more contagious variants of the disease. We did have over 12 million people vaccinated over a 4-day span within the last week. So we are hitting new records, and we are seeing that about 1 in 3 people have been vaccinated. Have you guys been vaccinated? Where are we? How are we doing? How are we feeling?
I'm getting it Easter.
Happy Easter.
So yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I will say that at the beginning of like the whole conversation of vaccinations, I was really scared. Originally, I can say this. Originally, I declined the vaccine because I am a frontline worker, and a lot of it wasn't because I'm like a what do you call those things? A conspiracy theorist. It was nothing like that. A lot of it had to do with just a generational thing of just being Black in the healthcare system. We remember the Tuskegee experiment and how what it did to our Black bodies. And so, for me, being a frontline worker and having the opportunity to be kind of like at the top, to be able to get vaccinated, I did run scared. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on here, but I think I wanted to wait. And as time has gone on, I have a responsibility to make sure that I'm advocating for the right thing. And I truly do believe that, get vaccinated, do what you need to do. If you have access to it, just get vaccinated, because this disease is serious. This disease has caused so much destruction. It has taken lives. It has taken jobs. It has taken homes. It's taken opportunities. It has done so much damage. So the least that you can do is protect yourself, protect loved ones by going ahead and getting vaccinated if you have the so. Now, again, I know everybody has free will choice. I'm not telling you what you should not do. All right. I'm just going to put that because again, I had to change my mindset too. So be open.
I'm glad that you're there, Blossom. I'm looking forward to the time when we can all get together and we can do things like this in person, and we can feel much more relaxed about that it is, but it is a valid point to say that that there are a lot of people who are very skeptical about this. I did an informal Instagram poll just to see where the people in my network are, because one in 3 people have been vaccinated, and about 80% of the people that decided to answer have been so far. So it's an exciting place. Mac, Alex, you guys feeling excited?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not eligible to get the vaccine until mid-April, but when I am, I will definitely be getting it. And I think it's still really important to share that you have been vaccinated on social media, so that if you do have friends that are questioning or on the fence about it, and if they trust you as a friend, they say, oh, well, if Mac got the vaccine, well, maybe I should too. And, I've seen that countless times throughout my friends and their networks. And I think it's important to continue to do that.
Absolutely. Alex.
Seconded and thirded. Let's get the vaccine when it's available to you. We need 75% of American adults to be vaccinated in order to achieve herd immunity. The spike in cases that started last week, that's going into this week, is concerning. It's fueled by young people who are going to spring break and reveling, and it's fueled by the variants that are starting to circulate and become the prominent strains in this country. And it's fueled by relaxed states relaxing their safety protocols and measures. And the last thing we do is to let more people die because of this. As someone who's lost people to COVID, I take it personally. Go ahead and get the vaccine. And I think it's safe. The science shows it's safe. And let's get back to normal fast as we can.
And as Dr. Walensky pointed out too, the science and the studies and the data since then is showing that people who get the vaccine are not carrying it or transmitting it at all, which is really incredible. And that's the thing that kind of helps us and will help us to get back to where we are. And I am a big advocate for it. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and it packed a punch, 2 shots in one, and I felt super sick the next day, but I would do it all over again. It is worth it, guys. So if you are eligible, please go to it. So I want to now open the library, because we've come to the end of our episode where we get to stand on a soapbox and just read anyone we want to. We can make it a celebratory thing if we want. We can talk about whatever. You have 2 minutes ish, we've give or take, to read anyone you'd like. And I think I'm going to start with Alex, because you're just an old pro and you know how this goes. I want you to set the tone.
Oh, hi everyone. What? The library's open? Shucks. Today I'd like to read Congressman Matt Gaetz. Good old Matthew Gaetz, father to Nestor, out there in Florida, Republican firebrand and Trump lackey and Trump lovey-dovey bestie Matt Gaetz, who, turns out today is caught up in a sex trafficking scandal where he is accused of sleeping with a 17-year-old girl who he is apparently has had flown in, get paid for hotel rooms. And you don't say. The party of Nazis, racists, compromised Russian assets, pedophile wrestling coaches, blackout drunk rapist judges and Supreme Court judges, concentration camp fanboys, bonesaw murderer apologists, and melting lawyers would also be home to Matt Gaetz, whose defense to this was, I'm a single man, I date, and I'm very generous with the women I date. I sometimes pay for their flights and pay for their hotel rooms because I'm just a generous dater as a single man. I'm just a generous, standard Tinder profile. Let me fly in 17-year-olds, pay for their hotel rooms because I'm dating them. Give me a break. Matt Gaetz is going to go down hard, and I'm glad DOJ is investigating this. Another shit stain bites the dust. Matt Gaetz, you are my shithole of the week. You're a terrible person. You're going down. And it's always the ones that are screaming about pizza parlor, child sex trafficking Democrats, the ones that end up going down. Matt Gaetz, you suck. You're terrible. Go away. I can't stand you. Your face is punchable. You're gross. Go away. I'm done.
I don't want to get shallow, but his face is so big. That's what makes it so punchable. I don't get it. The head's so big.
With the big
like,
poofy hair,
big
like
hair,
he's got a poof
and like
on.
he's just, I don't get it. But also, like, why are you dating a teenager? That's just, oh my God. I've pronounced his name Geitz a lot, and I can't stop myself, and that word means nothing. I don't know. Mispronouncing his name just feels right to me. So Matt Geitz, you've been read. Mackenzie, who would you like to read this week?
Yes, well, I want to read down not any one person per se, but I want to address the mass shootings in this country. They are unspeakably tragic, and words alone cannot fix our national problem. And, you know, the only suitable way to honor the victims of gun violence is action. But it's time and time again, our government just refuses to do anything. You know, we had 2 mass shootings this week, one in Atlanta, Georgia, and one in Boulder, Colorado. And these were the first shootings since the start of the pandemic, which makes me think that the only solution this country's come up with for gun violence is to keep us all in lockdown. But that's not going to be realistic, of course. And, you know, I saw on the news the predictable and pathetic response from the Colorado State Shooting Association, talking about how now is not the time to debate gun laws. Well, when is the right time? Because clearly it wasn't the right time after Sandy Hook or Pulse or Parkland or the Vegas shooting. You know, I could go on, but the kicker is the majority of Americans want some form of gun control. You know, we have for a while now. Biden ran on having common sense gun laws, and you know, it really just sets me off that after these shootings like this, when Republican lawmakers try to pivot the conversation and talk about mental health. Now, I'm for expanding mental health treatment, and it's quite a remarkable turnaround for a party that a few years ago was, you know, staking their reputation on cutting taxes and starving government budgets. And of course, you know, but I do support mental health care. But let's be clear, America does not have a disproportionate amount of mentally ill people, you know, in other developed nations. That leads to our high gun rates. So to me, it's clear the problem is guns. Guns is our national obsession with them. You know, guns being so easily accessible. I'm over it. I want them out. I want the reform now. I don't want to wait. And you know, we need those lawmakers to get those common sense gun laws today.
Yes.
That's where I'm at.
and you know, if they are talking about mental health when they've tried to cut budgets for healthcare over the years, you know, maybe we need to just take advantage of the little things that they use to scapegoat issues and you know, and gaslight us and actually say, okay, well, let's devote money to that. Let's go ahead. Come on, guys. Put your money where your mouths are. Mac, thank you so much for that read. I am excited to kick this over to our special guest, Blossom. Who, what, where, when, why, what would you like to read this week?
It's hard to come behind Alex and Mac, but you know, those were some good ones. But you know, I'm gonna do my best. And when I like to read in love. You know, here goes. To everybody that is not trans. So I'm talking about to all the cis people, whether gay, straight, bisexual, queer, whatever you want to identify yourself, that's more than fine. Let's tomorrow visibility, okay? Donate to trans-led organizations. Spend your money, your time, your energy donating to trans-led organizations who are doing the work on the ground for trans rights, who are making sure that trans people are taken care of each and every day. Also trans-friendly organizations as well too, who are also implementing trans activities, who are implementing the trans experience into their organizations, okay? Protect Black trans women. Please, Black trans women are experiencing an enormous rate of violence. I am a Black trans woman. Donate to my work. Donate in the PayPal, the Cash Apps, the Venmos. Help trans people. Amplify trans people. My LGB brothers, sisters, and siblings, you have a cis privilege I do not have as a trans person. Let's be very clear. So your cisness is a pass. When you hear transphobia, when I get up and I'm not in the room, say something. If you don't, you become complicit and you are part of the problem, not part of the solution. And truth be told, if we want to build bridges amongst each other, we got to step up and help each other. We were there when you wanted gay rights, when you were able to marry your partner. Doggone it, when trans people can't serve in the military, when trans people can't go into these homeless shelters safely, when trans people can't even use the restroom in peace, and you're not saying anything, you're part of the problem. And that's that.
And that is that. That's right, Blossom. And everybody out there, please follow Blossom C. Brown. We will get to that in just a moment, where we'll plug you a bit. I'm getting some feedback. Are you guys hearing any feedback on my end?
It's okay now.
It's okay now. It was a weird thing. I don't know. Somebody turned the microwave on or something. I don't know what happened. But thank you so much for that, Reed Blossom. My final thoughts this week, I did correct myself earlier on something, and it made me really think about how this entire episode that we talked about. There are so many people who are responsible for so much pain in this country. And I always think about Ayanna Pressley, who says that the people who are closest to the pain need to be closest to the power. We need to see more people step up. We need to see more people fight for what's right. And we need to take moments to acknowledge when we're wrong. We need to take moments to acknowledge when we feel a little burned out, and maybe we need to breathe. Maybe we need to get some sleep. Maybe we need to hydrate and just take care of ourselves and take care of each other in order to continue this fight. It is very clear that there is just a full court press attack on our democracy, on our trans siblings, on the AAPI community, on people, minorities, people of color, queer people all over this country. And just in general, the rights that people have to go out and cast a vote. It is easier to go get a gun than it is to go vote in some of these states. That's just insane. We're seeing mass violence continue. We're seeing it pick up again, as though this entire year of a little bit more quiet didn't mean anything at all. People are just right back to it. People in grocery stores, people going about their daily business, they're all under attack. We are all under attack. When we attack one of us, we attack all of us. So there is a huge fight ahead of us. My only thing is just to say that we need to take care of each other, that we need to be there for each other. And I hope that everybody keeps that in mind. That is all I have to say for this week. We had such a great episode. I am just so thankful to our whole panel, Alex Mohajer, Mackenzie Hussman, thank you so much for joining us. And everybody go listen to Stonewall Spotlight. It is a monthly podcast. It is fantastic. Blossom C. Brown, where can we find you?
Social media at Blossom C. Brown, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you all. Thank you so much. This has been a production of the Stonewall Democratic Club. You can join the Stonewall Democratic Club for as little as $25 a year. You can check us out at stonewalldems.org, see what we're up to in the activism space, and see what we're doing with this very exciting year. You can also catch us here on The Read Down every Tuesday night on YouTube, on Facebook Live. 6 o'clock Eastern. It's not 6 o'clock Pacific. It's been great. Good night, everyone. And Trans Day of Visibility. Pay attention.